and welcome to Environmental Coffee House. It's great to be here. Yes, it is. I made that video because we are going into that season, and I can't wait. I cannot wait. It is snowing. And it's cold. It's like 31. I'm sick of, heating the house. But the seasons are going to change. They're just changing in different ways than they used to change. They completely are changing. But, different. We get the weather whiplash. And it's all kinds of crazy. But it's nice to see you all. Rich, Diana, and Patty P. Kim, thank you for moderating. And Karen Reese and Rich, Diana, Raza, and Dale, and Reflect the Sun, Jim McHenry, and Tanya, who actually helped me on that garden this year. They were here for a visit. And I really hope that maybe they can come back next year. It would be great. And Karen Reese, did I say hi to you? Kay Ryan. All right. Trulia Gass, Cindy Seeley, Out Your Mouth, Scott Andrews. Hello, 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 hello. So we got a decent show planned. I am not shared tonight on Facebook. I'm on Twitch live. I don't really know how to use it, but I thought, well, I could take a look at it. I named the show tonight, interestingly enough, this kid that helps me. All right, so this kid that helps me. I like that noise, the stream behind me. He's like, oh, all right. I didn't get it yet. I'm saving. I will be. I'm saving. I will. I've been looking. It's hard to buy something when, I'm saving because I don't want to have to get another one in 2 years or 3 years. I want it to last. So we'll see. But anyway, that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. I wanted to start out with the kid that, I was talking to. He's 17 years old, and his quote was, "Extinction is inevitable. It's just how long we prolong it." Okay? How long we prolong it. This is a 17-year-old. He is quite articulate. I think he's on the autism spectrum, but he's brilliant. And he helps me with his mom here. And he was over the other day, and we got into quite the conversation. I have to say, this kid is already a doomer, yet he is going to go to college, and he wants to be an engineer or do something, something. Yes, he's very aware, Karen. He's extremely aware. He knows. But we were talking, and he said, he was talking, he brought me down a few rabbit holes because, I am anti-nuclear. I don't like it. I don't trust it. And he brought me into this conversation about the fact that, well, if we're going anyway, what's wrong with going nuclear? He gave me some pointers and things to look at. He's 17. So obviously he knows, he knows what their future, what's in hold for their future. And I said, well, I would take a look. I'm open. There's new things happening. I said, what about the waste? And he said, well, they reuse the waste. So, I wasn't going to argue with him. I was listening to him because he knows where we're headed. And so that's where I got the whole idea for the show, was to find some things to talk to you about, some articles and but I have something to show you. And this is the way I'm going to start out tonight. We went from beautiful garden, and for those of you that are old enough to remember this, now I remember it from when my parents had the record. All right. So listen close. Listen close.
You know, every great war produces its great hit songs. And after each war, we like to gather around the piano or the guitar and play these songs. We enjoy the songs because they remind us of how much we enjoyed the war. Now, World War III is almost upon us, as you know, by popular demand, it seems. And it occurred to me that if any songs are going to come out of World War III, we better start writing them now. So I have one here. This is a song that some of the boys will have sung to their mothers as they will have gone bravely off to World War III. There's one reference in here that I should explain. There is a reference to our leading television news commentators, Chet Huntley and David Brinkley. I feel that this is appropriate because, as you know, World War III will be the first World War to be seen on television. And I certainly hope that we all have color television by then. So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But while you swelter down there in your shelter, you can watch me on your TV. While we're attacking frontally, watch Brinkley and Huntley describing contrapuntally the cities we have lost. No need for you to miss a minute of the agonizing Holocaust. Yeah! Little Johnny Jones, he was a U.S. pilot, and no shrinking violet was he. He was mighty proud when World War III was declared. He wasn't scared, no siree. And this is what he said on his way to Armageddon. So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But though I may roam, I'll come back to my home, although it may be a pile of debris. Remember, Mommy, I'm off to get a commie, so send me a salami and try to smile somehow. I'll look for you when the war is over, an hour and a half from now.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that because it's the lead in for the first article. Kim, I'm going to start lying about my age. You need to stop that shit. Okay. So anyway, so we're going through the kid that I talked to, his insane amount of intelligence. I mean, this is the first person I have maybe a handful of people I could talk to like that around here, and a 17-year-old. Holy shit. Anyway, it led me down quite a few rabbit holes. And I did not go through. Yeah, Dee Dee said it. Okay, we're going to say it tonight. I'm 39. She got that. Oh, thank you, Dee Dee. Yes. All right, it's Friday night. We're going to be very, very, not that formal. So my first article actually is it gave me the whole idea, for this whole thing, for the Tom Lehrer. Okay, not this one. This first article actually is just it's actually Harvard, and it kind of made me feel sad. It's a little sad because the kids. Well, I'm not going to play the video, but why it matters. And this guy is 17 that I was talking to. I mean, he's 17. And why it matters. Kids are not little adults, and their health is impacted more directly by climate change. And research shows that kids today, They'll face 3 times as many climate disasters as their grandparents did, including wildfires and storms and droughts, and their immune systems and organs are still developing. I mean, it's just there's a lot. So basically, I'm going through this really quick. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we get it. We know kids are fucked. All right. So diseases, air quality, air pollution accounts for 20% of newborn deaths worldwide. Mental health, equity and health benefits of climate action. So even if we know where this is leading us, like the 17-year-old boy who knows that we're going to go extinct, it's just a matter of when, we can do things, curtail the use of fossil fuels, which is what we talk about. Even if you feel like, and then we know we have to do something. It's going to be a trade-off from one thing to another. There's going to be a trade-off from mining for oil or drilling and all that shit, for mining for uranium and lithium for the batteries until they come up with kids like him who want to be an engineer. Can I say? So this is where I got the idea to do this is humans are doomed to go extinct. Scientific American. Habitat degradation, low genetic variation, and declining fertility are setting Homo sapiens up for collapse. Yep, setting us right up. And we know this. So Scientific American, this was in, when did he write this? It doesn't have the exact date. Sometimes it's like, put the date right where you could see it. Cast your mind back, if you will, to 1965, and it was 1960. I thought it maybe it was 65, but I thought it was 1960 where I read it. But he said where Tom Lehrer recorded his live album, that was the year that was. And by the way, what was it, 2 years ago, I had a show called That Was the Week. That was, you know how many names we've had, Jennifer and I. We've had Sunday Night Live, Sunday afternoon. We have now As the Biosphere Dissolves. I mean, we've had a million show names. Basically, we're just environmental coffee house, So this was saying if there's going to be any songs coming out of World War III, we'd better start writing them now. I think that he wrote this before the Ukraine-Russia deal, all right? Another preoccupation of the 60s, apart from nuclear annihilation, was overpopulation. And we talk about that, and a lot of people will argue with us that is not a problem. We have resources for everyone if there's no trees and nothing. Paul Ehrlich, the population bomb. All right, so half a century on, the threat of nuclear annihilation has lost its imminence. Now, I don't know. And that is going to bring me to talk to you for a second before I go on with this article. Because somebody sent me today this information from one of those online preppers. And I listened to this guy, and, he's talking about the potential for nuclear war, and he's talking about prepping with nuclear, tablets to get the radiation out of your water and all this stuff, right? And I'm thinking, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. And when people from Ukraine were asked, do you think that there's going to be a war because Russia is amassing troops on your border? And these people said, oh, no, there's nothing going on. So we're all saying what? Oh, no, there's not going to be a nuke. Well, the thing about this is, for me, what am I going to prep for? I mean, what am I going to try? 6 years of eye drops? I mean, I need, what am I going to do? I think I'm too fucking old for this prepping shit. I do my food. I do my stuff. I do all that, but I'm going to prep for radiation and nuclear war. No, I'm going to shoot myself or whatever I have, stash myself let the cats out. But that would even be now mean. I mean, I live near New York, but it's kind of like crazy. It's crazy. We live in a crazy world. I haven't gotten there yet with the 17-year-old. He knows, but I think he was more interested in talking about humanity and how he sees what's going to happen. And we didn't even get there yet. He'll be back because I need things done here and, plausible deniability, Sandy. Troops? I don't see no stinking troops. I don't know. I don't watch mainstream media, but I do my fair share of accurate reading. But I guess to everybody, everybody has their idea of what's accurate to them because the social media sphere is absolutely fucking insane. So here we go. Let's go back. All right, we'll go back to Scientific American. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll turn it off. All right, so anyway, this guy is a paleontologist. He takes the long view. Mammal species tend to come and go rather rapidly, appearing, flourishing, and disappearing in a million years or so. The fossil record indicates that Homo sapiens have been around for 315,000 years or so. But for most of that time, the species was rare. So rare, in fact, that it came close to extermination. Not extermination. Oh my God, what am I thinking about? World War II? Extermination. That was a faux pas. Extinction! Perhaps more than once. Thus were sown the seeds of humanity's doom. Current population has grown very rapidly from something much smaller. The result is that as a species, Homo sapiens is extraordinarily samey. There is more genetic variation in a few troops of wild chimpanzees than in the entire human population. Lack of genetic variation is never good for species survival. I wonder if that kid read this article. I mean, he's really educated and not just social media gamer, either. So anyway, so what is more? Over the past few decades, the quality of human sperm has declined massively, possibly leading to lower birth rates for reasons nobody is sure about. Well, we all have our ideas, don't we? Pollution, a byproduct of human degradation of the environment, is one possible factor. You think? Oh no. Yeah. So it could be stress, which I think stress is probably a big part of everything that's happening. Stress is killing all of us. I know stress is killing me. Okay. It could be triggered by living in close proximity to other people for a long period. For the most of human evolution, people rode light on the land, living in scattered bands. The habit of living in cities practically on top of one another, literally so in an apartment block, is very recent. Another reason for the downturn in population growth is economic. Politicians strive for relentless economic growth, but that's not sustainable in a world where resources are finite. Homo sapien already sequesters between 25 and 40% of net primary productivity. That is the organic matter that plants create out of air, water, and sunshine, as well as being bad news for the millions of other species on our planet that rely on this matter. Such sequestration might be having deleterious effects on human economic prospects. People nowadays have to work harder and longer to maintain the standards of living enjoyed by their parents. If such standards are even obtainable, right? Well, they're not for me. Indeed, there's growing evidence that economic productivity has stalled or even declined globally in the past 20 years. One result could be that people are putting off having children. And you know what? If they're putting off having children, and maybe that has to get this. Don't have any. All right. So they've been putting it off. So maybe that's their own fertility starts to decline. An additional factor in the shrinkage rate of population growth is something that can only be regarded as entirely welcome and long overdue: the economic, reproductive, and political emancipation of women. I am woman, hear me roar. The emancipation of women. Well, we've been emancipated, but according to the Republicans, they are trying to bring us back to the 1950s. So this guy better get with it, because we ain't going to have any of those things pretty soon. 1952, here we come. Oh, yes. We're going. 1952. So, anyway, it began hardly more than a century ago, but has already doubled the workforce and improved the educational attainment, longevity, and economic potential of human beings generally. With improved contraception, unless you're in Texas or any of those states, it's Marsha Blackburn. Where's she from? The clueless moron that wants to get rid of contraception. And better health care. Women need not bear as many children to ensure that at least some survive the perils of early infancy. But having fewer children and doing so later means that populations are likely to shrink. The most insidious threat to humankind is something called extinction debt. There comes a time in the progress of any species, even ones that seem to be thriving, when extinction will be inevitable, no matter what they might do to avert it. The cause of extinction is usually a delayed reaction to habitat loss. The species most at risk are those that dominate particular habitat patches at the expense of others who tend to migrate elsewhere and are therefore spread more thinly. Humans occupy more or less the whole planet. You think? Mm-hmm. And with our sequestration of a large wedge of the productivity of this planet-wide habitat patch, we are dominant within it. Homo sapiens might therefore already be a dead species walking. The signs are already there for those willing to see. When the habitat becomes degraded such that there are fewer resources to go around, when fertility rates start to decline, when birth rate sinks below death rate, and when the genetic resources are limited, the only way is down. Down. And how fast? I suspect that the human population is set not just for shrinkage, but collapse, and soon. To paraphrase Lehrer, if we're going to write about human extinction, we'd better start writing now. That was pretty good. That was a good find. Yeah, it was for this. I thought so. I thought it was. Yes, indeed. So we're going to move on. And I hope you liked that one, because it was a perfect find for the day, the conversation, what I was thinking. And now here's the next one. How fast, this is new, I've got 3 tonight. How fast can we stop Earth from warming? Can we put the brakes on? I don't know. So how can we stop this car? Global warming doesn't stop on a dime. If people everywhere stop burning fossil fuels tomorrow, stored heat would still continue to warm the atmosphere. Picture how a radiator heats a home. Water is heated by a boiler, and the hot water circulates through pipes and radiators in the house. The radiator warms up, and the heat the air in the room. Even after the boiler's turned off, the already heated water is still circulating through the system, heating the house. So the radiators are in fact cooling down, but their stored heat is still warming the air in the room. This is known as committed warming. Earth similarly has ways of storing and releasing heat. So emerging research is refining scientists' understanding of how Earth's committed warming will affect the climate. where we once thought it would take 40 years or longer for global surface air temperature to peak once humans stopped heating up the planet, research now suggests temperature could peak in closer to 10 years. But that doesn't mean the planet returns to its pre-industrial climate or that we avoid disruptive effects such as sea level rise. I, the author, am a professor of climate scientists, and my research and teaching focuses on the usability of climate knowledge by practitioners such as urban planners, public health professionals, and policymakers. With a new report on mitigating climate change expected from the IPCC in early April, let's take a look at the bigger picture. How understanding of peak warming has changed. Historically, the first climate models represented only the atmosphere. Over the years, scientists added oceans, land, ice sheets, chemistry, biology. Today's models can more explicitly represent the behavior of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide. That allows scientists to better separate heating due to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere from the role of heat stored in the ocean. And I'm going to show you this video, and I have to do that to show it to you. Let's see it. Alrighty, let's go. Come on.
First light in the South Pacific nation of Vanuatu, a developing country where the ocean has always been at the heart of everyday life. But that same ocean now threatens communities scattered across Vanuatu's 83 islands.
If sea levels rise, as they're projected to by the end of the century at our present rate of greenhouse gas emissions, we will be flooding those communities. Not just island nations, but many of the world's major coastal cities.
The key reason for that sea level rise is our warming planet. Oceans soak up huge amounts of heat from the atmosphere.
In fact, the oceans take up so much heat that more than 90% of the extra heat energy that's been stored by the planet over the last 50 years is found in the oceans. So when we talk about global warming, we really mean ocean warming.
As oceans warm, they expand, in the same way liquid in a thermometer rises as it warms up. Heat isn't the only problem. Oceans are also great at gulping up carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Given how much us humans put up there, that's pretty helpful. But it's come at a major cost. As CO2 dissolves, it makes the ocean more acidic, damaging the marine ecosystem, particularly plankton, the base of the marine food chain. That means countries such as Vanuatu face not just the challenge of sea level rise, but also big changes to marine life caused by warming, coral bleaching, and acidification. The United Nations has warned them to brace for a radically different way of life. More than 6,000 kilometers away from tropical Vanuatu, the weather couldn't be more different.
Trying to breathe.
But the scientists here in Chile, Antarctica are also worried about warming.
When the warmer ocean waters melt the ice around the edge of Antarctica, more ice can slide off the Antarctic continent into the ocean, and that also causes sea levels to rise.
Antarctica is hemorrhaging ice. In fact, it's now losing 6 times more than it was in the 1980s. The second biggest ice sheet on Earth can be found in Greenland. Things here are no better. 60% of it is now showing signs of surface melting of at least 1 millimeter. Sounds small, right? Well, this is how that translates.
Greenland is losing approximately 8,500 metric tons of ice per second, day in, day out. 8,500 tons of ice per second. Mind-blowing.
And as this NASA animation shows, current projections have things getting worse.
All of these things are faster now than they were just a few decades ago. And the concern is that the rate is going to keep going up and at a faster and faster rate. That'll actually accelerate.
And that's why climate scientists around the world are now speaking with one voice.
The oceans are big, obviously, and so we can only measure them and track changes in the ocean by working together as a very well-coordinated global community.
One such collaboration is the Global Ocean Observing System, which taps the resources of satellite systems, governments, UN agencies, and individual scientists. It's a big effort, but one crucial to the future of not just places such as Vanuatu, but for the entire world.
The Australian Academy of Science, because questions need answers.
Because they do. Yes, they do. Questions need answers. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Thinking about our radiator analogy. All right, let me see where you guys are. Thinking about the radiator analogy, increasing concentrations of greenhouse gases in Earth's atmosphere keep the boiler on, holding energy near the surface and raising the temperature. Heat accumulates and is stored mostly in the oceans. Jim Massa, you're here? Yeah, if he's still here. That's the guy, the ocean guy, right? It takes on the role of radiators. The heat is distributed around the water through the weather and oceanic currents. The current understanding is that if all of the additional heating to the planet caused by humans was eliminated, a plausible outcome is that Earth might reach, a global surface air temperature in closer to 10 years than 40. The previous estimate of 40 or more years has been widely used over the years, including by me, author says. It is important to note that this is only the peak. When the temperature starts to stabilize, not the onset of rapid cooling or reversal of climate change. I believe there is enough uncertainty to justify caution about exaggerating the significance of the new research results. The authors applied the concept of peak warming to global surface air temperature. Global surface air temperature is, metaphorically, the temperature in the room, and it is not the best measure of climate change. The concept of instantly cutting off human-caused heating is also idealized and entirely unrealistic. Doing that would involve much more than just ending fossil fuel use, including widespread changes to agriculture, and it only helps illustrate how parts of the climate might behave. So even if the air temperature were to peak and stabilize, committed ice melting, committed sea level rise, and other trends, the land and biological trends would continue to evolve from the accumulated heat. Some of these could, in fact, cause a release of carbon dioxide and methane, especially from the Arctic and other high-latitude reservoirs that are currently frozen. For these reasons and others, it is important to consider how far into the future studies like this one look. Oceans in the future. Oceans will continue to store heat and exchange it with the atmosphere, even if emissions stopped, just stopped. The excess heat that has been accumulating in the ocean since pre-industrial times would influence the climate for another 100 years or so, which we pretty well know. I mean, we are in the know. Because the ocean is dynamic and has currents, it will not simply diffuse its excess heat back in the atmosphere. There will be ups and downs as the temperature adjusts. The oceans also influence the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because carbon dioxide is both absorbed and emitted by the oceans. Paleoclimate studies show large changes in carbon dioxide and temperature in the past, with the oceans playing an important role. So here you see the meters. And this is the series. Oh, I didn't bring up their website. Shoot. I wanted to bring up their website because I thought it was helpful. I had it up on my phone. It doesn't matter. We're going to look. You see, there's the land mass. Is it big enough? Let me see if it's big enough. And you can see this. All right. So you see the different here, 0 to 700, 700, 200, ocean below. The energy change, see the energy change and how it goes up and how the different the ocean, different depths go up, then there's the atmosphere, and there's uncertainty. The chart shows how excess heat and thermal energy has built up in the ocean, land, and ice atmosphere since 1960. When I think that video, Tom Lehrer sang the song. Maybe it was 1965. And moved to greater ocean depths with time. The TOA series refers to the top of the atmosphere. So that was a pretty interesting graph. Countries aren't close to ending fossil fuel use. No, they're not. It's like, you really think they are? Okay. If you think they are, I have a sound for you. Here, wait. There we go. They're not. They're not. No. Okay. But the possibility that a policy intervention might have measurable impacts in 10 years rather than several decades could motivate more aggressive efforts to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It would be very satisfying to see policy interventions having present rather than notional future benefits. However, today, countries aren't anywhere close to ending their fossil fuel use. Instead, all of the evidence points to humanity experiencing rapid global warming in the coming decades. Our most robust finding is that the less carbon dioxide humans release, the better off humanity will be. But committed warming and human behavior point to the need to accelerate efforts both to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt to this warming planet now, rather than simply talking about how much needs to happen in the future, which is what we were talking about. Me and I'm not going to say his name, but that's what we were talking about. And he sees this, he definitely sees this. So I see you're having good conversation in there. Humanity, it's a cheat engine. All right. Happy Fossil Fuel Day. Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's April Fool's. This is no fool. There's no fooling here. There's no fooling here. This is real. And these are decent publications, which is going to lead me now. We're going to go, okay, now we're going to go back and we're going to look at Peter Kalmus on Twitter. And he wrote, as a climate scientist, and I've interviewed Peter, as a climate scientist and dad, I feel increasingly desperate. Butterflies in my stomach desperate. It is psychologically brutal to see this climate train wreck worsen while world leaders not only fail to stop it, but they hasten it. Yeah, they sure as shit do. They do. They really do. They hasten it. Okay, so let's read Peter's article. Why is Biden boasting about drilling for oil? Our planet demands we stop now. Is it because of the war? Well, let's see what Peter has to say. We are spiraling further into climate and ecological breakdown. Now is the perfect moment to build out renewables and end the fossil fuel industry as if future of humanity depends on it. I would imagine children do. He has kids. That kid is 17 that I talked to. Putin's unprovoked and atrocious invasion of Ukraine has laid bare many things. One of these things is our society's precarious dependence on fossil fuels. Another is a burgeoning climate-driven food crisis. It's time to phase out fossil fuels and industrial beef production. And I agree with that. Yep, wholeheartedly. Go vegan. I'm a vegetarian, but I don't want no more factory farms, and he is 100% right on that. All right. Any reasonable person can look at today's climate impacts, the droughts, famines, floods, fires, storms, ecosystem losses, and deadly heat. They can see that they are caused primarily by burning fossil fuels. Read the IPCC summary reports that project how much worse they will get and how irreversible the damage will be, and conclude that we must end the fossil fuel production as quickly as we can. Any one of the catastrophes I've listed should be the reason enough to do so. Taken together, they indicate nothing less than the eventual end of civilization as we know it. On top of this, Putin's brutal war is funded primarily by the flow of gas and oil out of his country, partly because the human brain finds war more immediate than climate breakdown. This has suddenly increased public awareness of the dangers of our fossil fuel addiction. But tragically, the Biden administration is choosing to expand the fossil fuel industry at this critical moment. White House spokesperson Jen Psaki, who, by the way, is leaving, and she won't be the spokesperson because she's going to MSNBC. Oh, boy, she got her gravy train. Only took her, what, a year? Did it take her a year? Oh, well, she's got it. She's leaving. So she bragged that U.S. production of natural gas and oil is rising, approaching record levels, and that trend lines are also pointing up. But to be fair, though, I did read all of her stuff, and she did talk about it. And she was prefacing in the climate crisis. She was. But fossil fuel executives and investors are planning to increase production indefinitely, at least through 2035, demonstrating their belief that the politicians they've bought will continue to ignore the public's desire for climate action. This takes us in the opposite direction we need to head. Personally, as a climate scientist and a dad, I feel increasingly desperate. Butterflies in my stomach, desperate. It is psychologically brutal to see this climate train wreck worsen while world leaders not only fail to stop it, but hasten it. It is brutal to live with the knowledge that we are in the process of losing our livable Earth. The gap between what science is saying and how world leaders and the public are responding is so vast that I often have to pinch myself by going back to scientific findings. Yes, this is all really happening. And no, I am not being an alarmist. Global food systems present an interconnected dimension of concern. Russia and Ukraine together produce 30% of the world's wheat. 50 countries, including many in the global south, depend critically on Russia and Ukraine for grain. Putin's war leaves them especially vulnerable. We are entering a new epoch of energy and food price volatility and increases which will hurt the global poor and working class most of all. Shifting away from meat, especially beef, would act as a shock absorber. Beef requires 20 times more the land area and creates 20 times the climate impact of plant-based protein. There is no place for industrial beef on a planet in a deepening food and climate crisis. A visionary leader would seize this moment to reduce consumption while protecting low-income households and preventing the rich from profiting off this global climate, this crisis. Doing so needs to start in the bully pulpit. A visionary leader, do we have any, would highlight climate peril and common sense solutions at every opportunity in the State of Union address, at press conferences, in special addresses and public education campaigns. A visionary leader would use executive actions and focused congressional bills to take common sense actions to transition rapidly away from fossil fuels and beef while providing credits, tax relief, and other support to the working class. The prospect of far higher gas and food prices in the future clarifies the critical relationship between wealth equity and climate action. For any hope of climate action, public support is crucial. In the short term, we need a Green New Deal build-out, which will create jobs, economic growth, and goodwill for transition. In the medium term, we will need to switch our driving economic goal away from maximizing GDP and toward maximizing human flourishing in balance with the rest of the living earth. President Biden says he listens to the scientists. Bullshit. But if he listened to climate scientists like me and my colleagues, many of whom are now as terrified as I am, he would understand that the climate breakdown literally threatens everything. He would understand that he could either be for stopping climate breakdown or for boosting oil and gas production, but not both. I have interviewed him. I have an interview with Peter Kalmus on our page if you're interested. So I'm going to segue pretty quickly over to Elliot Jacobson because, while I've covered 3 different types of messages in these articles, that extinction's inevitable, that pretty much climate, getting rid of the heat that we've amassed in our atmosphere and oceans and all is kind of futile. And then Peter's bargaining, Peter's bargaining for the work to be done. Peter's bargaining for something that, do I want to say this to a 17-year-old, but some bargaining for something that may never happen, probably won't happen, and he knows it. So let's find, and I've had Elliot on also. All right, let me make this a little bigger for you. All right. So the forecast for next Friday and beyond, that the entire world will be 0.8 C over the 1979 to 2000 base, is as hot a forecast globally as I have ever seen. I wish I was fooling, but the heat is just getting started, except at my house. So look at that. See what he put up? It's pretty hairy. And he's not wrong. For those obsessed with the first blue ocean event, here's a linear forecast that predicts the future for Arctic ice extent with 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations shown. Those who are data-driven have a good argument of a 50-50 chance by 2052. Those who have common sense, they say much earlier. And I think that tonight we're going to give the Blue Ocean event, the Environmental Coffee House, flush of the day. We don't want it to happen. We want to flush it away. We wish it wouldn't happen, but it's going to happen. He's got a new article out on his climatecasino.net, which I didn't pull up. Maybe I will. And if it comes up, when is a Blue Ocean event going to happen? And you guys can read this on your own. I'll put it in the show notes. It is some volumetric predictions, and I will put it in the show note. I'm not going to read Elliot's whole article, but you have to understand Elliot and very, very many more on Twitter. In this little Twitter sphere, Kevin Hester's in it. There's a lot of people, and I don't know if, let me see, communities. Let's see what's going on. If I can find the person I want to find. Nikki. Oh, Nikki Rue. I'm going to have him as a guest. He is an interviewer from Australia. He's going to be a guest. I've got some people coming up. I'm just, you know how slow I am. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, Desert File. Yeah, he's an author. I'm going to have him on too. Yep, he wrote a book, A Misanthrope in the Desert. And Who is this? Oh, he's got a lot of stuff he's been tweeting today. Whoa, I don't know what's going on. He's pretty angry. Oh, jeez. Oh, my God. All right. I'm looking for, am I on his? I might be just right on him. Maybe I clicked on him. No. He's like taking up my whole Twitter. I'm looking for, Calibri's on here. Calibri, I've never interviewed. I haven't interviewed him yet, and he's awesome. He's awesome. There he is with watermelons. He's volunteering at an indigenous owned and operated nonprofit farm this year. So he's got a GoFundMe for living expenses. He's awesome, and he's a great writer, and he has a new book out. And Human, who is not here with us, he's been working on trying to get us to look at Just Stop Oil, the coalition. They blocked. They have a YouTube, and they're blocking. They're doing all the action. They're doing what I wish I could do, but I can't do. I could do local, but I can't do this. I can't even sit on the ground. I'm going to do that. If governments are serious about the climate crisis, there can be no new investments in oil, gas, and coal from this year. I don't know. I feel conflicted, but yet I don't feel conflicted because I don't see any evidence of it happening this year, next year, the year after, or the year after. Yes, absolutely. Hi, Kate, Kameshwari Kate. The next time Sandy comes over to Tom Hartman, I'll introduce them to each other. I want to interview Regina for my little radio show. All right. Somebody new I should meet. That sounds good. I think I need to get a little bit more organized. I like that noise. And maybe actually even start writing things down. Hi, Caleb. And Earl. Yeah. Hi, Stefan. Do you pronounce it Stefan? Okay, let's try to stay away from real arguing. We're such a good climate channel. We don't want, I don't want to go to places where, people argue. And I know that it happens. And I know I could say, listen, I don't agree with any of it that's going on, I think Vladimir Putin is crazy. But I think there's a lot of crazy people. Oh, the oligarchs are crazy. Nancy Pelosi is crazy. She's a fucking oligarch. There you go. You get me started, and I'll be here another half an hour. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Hi, Pink Barrio. Here's somebody who has a great YouTube channel. He's got to be my guest from San Francisco. He's got it right. All of his videos, if you can check his, I'm here to support all the little YouTubers. I will never be a big YouTuber, nor do I want to be a big YouTuber. I am here to support our climate change community. I'm on Twitter, and I have, a lot of the YouTube people and all of you. Yes. It is. There. That's all we have to say about it. One word. Pathetic. Okay, we're done. Yay! Thank you. If I covered politics on my fleecing football fuckery bullshit that's going on where I live. I would really love more people to watch the video I made. It's what happens here. And what happens here extrapolates out to everywhere. It's not just, where I live in Western New York. Anyway, yeah, you're right. Okay, well, listen, guys, I have been 58 minutes. I think it's been a really good show. And yes, the single largest user of fossil fuels on the planet is the U.S. military. Attacking that source would be huge and attainable in a more ideal world. And boy, that's something that, people say don't vote. Well, there are a few people that really have the best interest of others that are in politics. How do you keep them from getting corrupted when, like Caleb said, corruption is normal? Getting rid of Citizens United, but that takes having a Congress and a Senate in the Democratic arena to make that change. How are we going to do it? And every other, every other country. And I can only speak, Hi, Eric. It's better than ever. Oh, thank you. Well, that's because it's taken me 5 years to learn all the technology. Yeah. And Rich, I will be, listen, guys, what I'm looking at is a Mac Mini. But then I was looking at a iMac because it's all in one with the big screen, but it's more expensive. The Mac Studio is way more expensive. I just need functional. I need functional. There's a lot to run when we have guests. And of course, I like to make it fun and have, all kinds of noises. I like the noises. I like the sound effects. I like all of it. But anyway. All right, guys. Good night. I'm not going to show the video again. I'll probably just use it as my opening. Sometimes it's 4 minutes, and watch it in the beginning. Thank you all. I love you all. What I really want to play is this and not get a copyright. Good night, guys. I have to go.